evening and welcome to Fine Point, where no narrative is sacred, no media hoax is safe, and we zero in on the big picture. I'm your host, Rion. If Kamala Harris wins the White House, what will that White House look like? In a new piece this week by Axios, Washington Staples, Mike Allen, and Jim Vendehi break down the picks for a potential cabinet by looking at not only allies for Harris, but also the Obama and/or Biden circle. Some picks aren't necessarily a surprise, shocking, or sexy. In this piece, it floats Delaware Senator and Biden whisperer Chris Coons for Secretary of State, Doug Jones, the Judge Roy Moore slayer and one-term senator from Alabama as AG, Biden Commerce Secretary and former governor of Rhode Island, Gina Raimondo, at Treasury, UN Ambassador. This hypothetical administration promotes Mayor Pete. Now, I'm a little underwhelmed. These picks aren't the most exciting. They are pretty bread and butter left-of-center picks that don't cause much need for alarm. That is, until you get to who has been pitched based on inside reporting for Chief of Staff. Former Obama Attorney General and confidant Eric Holder. Remember him? Operation Fast and Furious, when your government provided over 2,000 weapons to the drug cartels? The Attorney General held in contempt of Congress? Hopefully, those will refresh your memory on who exactly this man is, a radical operator with little regard for the law he claims to uphold. He's basically the right-hand man for Obama. Holder has apparently been a close ally of Harris recently and has even been in charge of vetting her VP choices. Does this mean Holder, with deep connections to Obama world and activist judges across the country, will he really be the one in charge if Harris is elected? Is it actually going to be President Holder? Eric Holder decided against a presidential bid in 2020 after much deliberation. Is that because he knew that he wasn't charismatic enough to win a nomination? Surely he was aware of the opposition research on him that is out there, probably several binders thick. Or is Holder simply just cunning enough to be in a position of power and influence like the list suggests? There's an old adage by comedian Bill Burr: you don't want to be the guy who owns the boat, you want to be friends with the guy who owns the boat. The same applies to Holder's calculation for wanting to be the front runner for Kamala's chief of staff. Before he gains access to the Oval, Eric Holder already has several tentacles around the levers of power in Washington that would clear the way for Kamala to have things easy. Eric Holder was not only Obama's AG, he has led an effort for redistricting under the guise of fairness to make congressional and state legislative districts more favorable to Democrats by heading up the National Democratic Redistricting Committee. NDRC is hooked up to the money faucet that is Act Blue. He not only is able to redraw maps, but siphon off money. Holder is also close to the Obama Foundation, no surprise there, an organization that stockpiled more money than the DNC. Eric Holder was instrumental in picking Tim Walz as Kamala's running mate. In a report from Breitbart, a leaked video has come to light showing Walz lying about his military record by saying he went to war. Let's take a look.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
With so much dirt on Walz, and not just this, his record as governor turning Minnesota state into a progressive playland, why would Holder want this man on the ticket? Couldn't he hurt her chances? Sure, but Holder also knows this is a man that because so much dirt is on him, he can be controlled, a classic tactic in Washington. And in that regard, he's just like Kamala. The chief of staff, when you are dealing with a president or vice president in over their heads and skeletons in the Congress, becomes the most powerful figure in government. operating in the shadows while your puppet gets the flack. Not quite beholden to the press, Congress, or the American people, Chief of Staff is no small post. No impeachment to sweat. As long as you control the puppet, wag the dog, direct the money, rig the system, well, you can be a happy camper. Eric Holder doesn't need to be called Mr. President. He does not need the title or responsibility. He does not need to own the boat. Chief of Staff and the strings and perks available at his fingertips will suit him just fine. And make no mistake, Eric Holder is basically Obama.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.